How's it going, everybody? RazingHel here, and today we're going to be taking a look at Project Zomboid. It is an RPG zombie survival game, but with a little bit of a different twist because this is one of the few that is actually set with an isometric sort of perspective. So let's get started. Okay, so here we are on the screen. As you can see, my character is walking around pretty normally. The game, like I said, it's an RPG, so it is quite heavily into things such as skills, and there is a pretty decent sized skill tree right here. And it is also, you can zoom out and zoom in. It really retains that like old style isometric perspective aesthetic that a lot of games from maybe around 2000 had. Here we have a refrigerator. Now, obviously, the power will go off after a few days, so we will no longer have access to that. But then we have things like cupboards here. Here's a sink. We can drink from it, or we can even refill our water bottles if they need water. At the moment, they don't. Here's an oven, and we can actually open up our inventory. Let me see. Here we go. And if you have foods, I mean, I could just go to the refrigerator and cook food here, for example. We would need a pot, though. So there is a lot of stuff in this game. I mean, a lot of stuff. And I probably spent about 4 hours so far playing it, and I still have just barely touched on everything the game has to offer. The UI is fairly flexible, as you can see here. You can grab these inventories and pretty much drag them around to wherever you want. This could be seen as a boon or a deficit. Like I said, pretty much either way, because in general, UIs that are not custom designed for the actual position on the screen, they tend to be a little bit less aesthetically pleasing. But I mean, you can make them work for you like that. Right now, we're currently in the second story of this building, as you can see right here. Pretty nice. Obviously, second story means that you're not going to have to worry about zombies coming in through windows and the like. Is that a zombie out there? This is actually the easier version of this campaign because I'm a complete scrub at it and I didn't want to die immediately. Apparently the game... Oh, there we have a zombie right outside. Apparently I attracted her. Yes, I think by simply standing by the window there, I got her attention, or a different zombie, because now you can hear them in the background. They're trying to break in. We have a bed here. You can either sleep in it. I'm not tired enough to sleep at, or you can rest on them if you're in need of rest. We have bookcases. So a lot of books. This might remind you a little bit of Fallout, for example, especially the first two games. They had a lot of books that you could read in that game as well. Maybe not a lot of books, but they had a fair few of them. And of course, reading them will increase your skills at certain things such as electricity, fishing. So all these things that you normally would be looking at here, you can help increase them through the reading of books. Let's open up a door and walk out into the hallway. As you can see with the lighting system, you can only see things that your character can see. So this means that zombies can creep up behind you, even if you normally don't see them, because there's like a fog of war around your character. Even though you can actually see all the way around your character, there is sort of a fog of war that applies to what's behind them. So you will frequently want to turn around like this to make sure there's nothing behind you as you're walking through the streets. So this is like an apartment, a second story apartment complex. There are about 3 apartments up here. And look, we even have like a laundry room. Oh, that's a bathroom, actually. There is so much stuff in this game. And I think that is one of the things that really makes it difficult to learn for beginners is like it's hard to focus on exactly what is important. Do you hoard everything? I mean, just look at everything that's in that one cabinet right there. So it's difficult to know exactly which items are the best, but so far what I've found is anything that has adhesive properties such as tape. You also want to pick up canned goods because they won't spoil even after the power goes out. Here we have some stairs. Let's walk down here, see if we run into any zombies. I would be remiss to not show you any actual zombie combat. We also want to make sure you have water bottles. Another thing that's very important is actually to have like a bottle of disinfectant and various, let me see if I can find them here, sterilized bandages, because you will get injured from time to time. For example, right here, my right hand and my right forearm are both injured, so I have to bandage them. You can remove the bandages as they get dirty, and you probably should. And make sure you sanitize the bandages that you put on to make sure that you heal faster and don't get an infection. So we can open the door and walk out into the street. Ooh, oh my goodness, it's a zombie. So the combat in the system is a little bit lacking. I mean, obviously you can kill them like that, and zombies do carry stuff. Make sure to look at their inventory. In my opinion, though, the game would have been more exciting if it didn't penalize combat so much. Like in a zombie game where you don't actually have to kill any zombies, that doesn't seem right, does it? The most effective strategy in this game is to actually avoid zombies, but you can kill them like I did right there. You charge up your swing by holding the right mouse button, and then you can swing using the left mouse button like that. And you can also use that swing to break windows and stuff, but obviously breaking a window is going to attract zombies, so don't do it unless you're ready to pay the consequences. Zombies can also see through, or you can be seen through these windows, so if you have the option to, you should definitely put up curtains. That's not exactly impossible to do in like these more commercial buildings, but in actual residential houses you can do that. You can also sprint, so let's get running here. I'm going to try to find something else. In the middle of town, in some ways, is the best. Oh, there we go. See exactly the example of a zombie that was in my my fog of war portion of the map. So there are not a lot of zombies around in this one because it's not a very difficult scenario. I'm getting distracted here a little bit. As you can see, my character is freaking out, slight panic because there's a zombie following her. Right there, you can see a good use of the fog of war because you would not be able to see her coming. And this is a problem I continually have, is not being able to actually hit them when they're down. And it seems like once they get back up after being down for one time, it's much harder to get them to fall down again. So one thing I would have really preferred in terms of this combat system is if you're going to do it this way, is at least put a finishing move button right there, like press E to perform a finishing move once they're down on the ground. I mean, it will obviously still use up your weapon's durability and everything, so it doesn't have to be an easy mode like that, but just being able to be certain that you can finish them off, I think would really help. So here we're running around. You can see there's a little bit on the outskirts of town here. I believe there's a decent forest right there. You can walk into the forest, but beware of zombies lurking around every single tree. It can certainly happen, and there isn't a whole lot of space to run to if that is the case. Here we have a house, and right there's a garage, or a little shed. So let's go in there. Maybe we can find something useful. It looks like a generator. Ooh, is that a generator? I see a zombie walking around outside. Let's see if we can... Okay, we can't close the curtain on that window. We can close the door, though, obviously. I wanted to close some curtains. So here we have a house. Now, some houses will have alarms in them. Let's open up this window, and let's climb through it. And now we can close the curtains. And as you can see, the outside went dark. The zombies can no longer see me. I personally would like to leave this window open because in case I need to escape quickly, it allows me to immediately climb through it essentially, but you can close it to make sure that zombies don't come in. So I would definitely recommend doing that before you actually go to sleep or anything in this bed. Okay, this is a pretty standard house. There's actually like a bench, picnic table set up in it, and it sounds like zombies are actually hitting the door. So that's something you want to be careful about. Now, these windows don't have curtains, but you can fashion a curtain out of a pillowcase or a sheet, I think. Unfortunately, I don't think I have one on me at the moment, so that's why it's not an option. The game does have power, but you'll find that most likely the lights will be off for the majority of your playing because the power goes out shortly after you actually start the game. And so that would also apply to the refrigerator. You would not, all this stuff would go to waste, and all of a sudden you'll find it a lot less easy to survive. Now, you can build gardens and stuff. I do have a trowel here, and you can go outside and you can plant gardens by digging up the ground and then using seed packets to actually plant. Let's climb back through here. So, what exactly is the real attraction to this? Well, I would say if you're a fan of more hardcore RPGs and you like the aspect of survival, maybe like the zombie games, but you don't like what is traditionally offered, especially in terms, a lot of them are the best third person. Most of them are first person, a lot of first person zombie games. This is something that is a little bit different, especially for the more strategy minded of you, like myself. I'm personally not quite as big a fan of just regular sort of first person shooters, stuff like that. First person perspective in general makes me nauseous. So I prefer like third person. That's why I was a big fan of State of Decay. I do like survival games, but at the same time, a lot of survival games focus on first-person perspective and have difficulty playing those types of games for extended periods of time, which means that this game is a pretty nice survival game, a zombie survival game. There are a few nitpicks here and there, but by and large, I would personally prefer it if the worlds were actually a little bit smaller. They seem pretty sprawling, and there's no map. I really, really miss a map. I think a map would add a lot to the overall ability, the survivability of it, because it would allow you to plan raids and stuff. Like you have a base stocked up, but you need to go and say, well, what do I need next? And then you can plan a raid into town or something like that. As it is, you are pretty much just wandering around aimlessly. The solution to the lack of a map, apparently, from what I have read, is that you're just supposed to drop worthless trinkets behind you to leave it sort of as, what, a breadcrumb trail, I guess. And I personally don't find that all... I find it a pretty weak argument for the lack of a map. I mean, I can understand you wanting the game to be a little bit more difficult than your average game, but I really don't think the lack of a map in the game is actually excusable. It's one of my biggest issues with the game at the moment. There's also, like I said, a lot of wandering around until you actually understand what your objectives should be. And this is the case with a lot of survival games. So if that is not your cup of tea, the game might not be for you either. Oh, you have a zombie right there. They always play that suspenseful music whenever you run into a zombie. And as you can see right there, I missed her. And I failed to deal the killing blow. That's just wonderful. That's classic combat for me. I am terrible at the combat in this game. Look at that. I can't hit her to save my life, it seems like. And so that's why I said once again, so map and the ability to do a finishing move. I really think a finishing move would help. Now, right now we're walking around during the daytime. And as you can see, there are some shadows because those represent your areas that you normally couldn't see if you were a person walking around. It is outside of your vision periphery. But during the night, it's a lot. There's a lot less of vision. There's a lot less field of view for your character. And there are also more zombies around, so be careful be a little bit more careful when wandering out during the night. Obviously, daytime is the best time to actually go exploring and whatnot. Now, you can survive away from civilization in this game. It is certainly possible. But it's going to be a little bit harder because obviously you're going to have to build your own structures and stuff. And you can build your own structures. If we look here at... No, apparently we can't build right there. There's a crafting menu right here. You can't actually craft the things I was looking for, though, in this crafting menu. But as you can see, there's a ton of stuff to craft. In addition to the skill tree, a lot of crafting stuff. Look at all that. So it's a pretty standard survival game in that sense, where there's tons of crafting involved in it, and that also might not be for you. I personally like games that are survival games that don't have quite as much crafting. Like, I think crafting can be a quite valuable asset to the overall world theming, but at the same time, too many games go overboard with the level of crafting. Like, they have craft pretty much everything, and I disagree. Craft one thing to craft another thing to craft another thing. I don't think that really adds much to the game. I think you should stick with stage one crafting. In other words, using generic items from around the world to craft basic things, and then not actually having to craft another item from there. This is a part of town I've never been in before. You can see two-story houses are quite plentiful here. Let's open the window and climb through. Can we close the curtains? We can remove the curtains. No, we just want to close them. And as you can see, the light slowly fades out, and we will not attract zombies that way. So anyway, that is Project Zomboid, to the best of my ability to showcase this game in a relatively short amount of time. Combat is not a big aspect of the game. In case you're wondering why not much combat happened, it's not a big focus of the game. It's mostly just survivability. Think maybe this war of mine. It might be a fairly decent comparison where you really don't want to ever get involved in a combat situation. That's actually preferable. And a lot of the challenge comes from simply surviving as an individual in this world where there are very few other people alive. And just the day-to-day necessities can be hard to procure. Close these windows, close these curtains as well. we didn't do actually any raiding here, but I mean, normally you'd be going through the various different inventories to make sure that anything useful or valuable was picked up. Did I actually remove the curtains? I think I removed the curtains from that window. That was a mistake. Okay, anyway, that is Project Zomboid. It is currently in early access, so it's still being worked on after about 3 years. It's been in early access for around about 3 years, which is a little bit disappointing. Additions that the developers want to implement in the future are both vehicles and character AIs. So in other words, there are going to be actual AI characters in the world, which will be actually pretty welcome. The vehicles especially, being able to move quickly around the map, in my opinion, is quite a boon, even if there is a penalty you have to pay for it, such as attracting zombies. But running everywhere, in my opinion, without a map is simply not an option. So I'd like to see the additional AI characters, the vehicles, and a map. Those are things I would especially like. Those would be things that are on the top of my priority. It is certainly possible you can mod them into the game, but I'd like to see them included in the default experience. Anyway, that is Project Zomboid. Thank you very much for watching as always, and I hope to see you next time.